My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What is going on? Welcome to Williams and Blum, Sunday, the 1st of December. Kind of a busy show. Kind of a busy time. Right here. Brent Blum has been in Utah, Hawaii, back in Iowa. When is the last time you saw your kids?
Today, like an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How are the boys doing?
Well, we decided to schedule in weeks in advance our 5-year-old's birthday party today.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Which was incredible timing, really, when you've been gone for 8 days. But hey, that was fun. But no, all is well in the Blum house, and Iowa State is playing for a championship, baby.
The varsity football program over there at Iowa State, up in Ames, playing for a championship on Saturday. We'll talk about that. I learned a valuable lesson yesterday at the age of 40. What goes up still must come down. I drink Red Bull and pre-workout drinks from about 9 o'clock until about 2 o'clock in the morning last night. I didn't fall asleep until after 4 and then just could not sleep. I was up by 7 and then I was just feeling great. I'm bouncing off the wall. I'm writing columns, doing all kinds of great stuff.
So you're texting me 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, what is he doing?
I am so tired now. I'm completely crashed. Completely crashed.
I think Cyclone Nation feels you right now. I think
And
we're all there.
I've been getting texts from all of my friends who stormed the field last night that have sprained ankles and they sprained knees. These little bastards.
Hopefully no torn Achilles.
Well, they're lucky it was they're lucky it was that natural grass that has some give to it and not the field turf. Otherwise, they'd be really screwed.
Speaking of the grass, how about the Iowa State football account immediately after the game?
Yeah, that was so good.
Incredible tweet.
Loser managers from Kansas State.
On their TikTok.
Dorks.
Oh,
yeah, we have a lot to get to. I'm just going to start the show with this. Been breaking news to you. I've been working with our friends at the Dallas-Fort Worth Cyclone Club. We are going to do a get-together on Friday in Fort Worth. Not in Fort Worth, I'm sorry. At the Live, that spot right across from the Rangers Stadium and where the Cowboys play.
The spot to be.
Yes. 4 o'clock Friday is the official gathering spot for Cyclone Fanatic, and we will. Just right there in the middle. And we're going to be passing around Venmo so we can get out there and buy some more kickers. I'm kidding on the kicker part, but it is a big time of year for you guys, and I know you've been pounding the pavement ever since last night's game, and that is the plan.
Outstanding.
So 4 o'clock on Friday, the actual name of that place is the Texas Live. So you're not going to be able to miss us, but I don't know exactly how we're going to, but basically we're just going to be asking people to Venmo, we will, and just get together. I'm sure Iowa State might do something officially too. But I've probably had 50 people hit me up
Same.
so that is our plan. And I know
Awesome.
I don't even know if you're going to be in town yet, but I will be there.
I'm figuring it out.
I'm on the 5 a.m. Friday.
There you
So
go.
I'm going to be in Dallas by 7:30 Friday morning with no hotel to check into because it's way too early. So I'm probably just going to day drink. I don't have it in me. I got to make it up for that that Mountain West championship game, which got massive implications on it for Iowa State right now. So we'll get into all that. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Mechdyne. I'm sure our guy Chris Clover, I bet he was on the field last night, knowing that guy, that son of a gun. He was probably trying to jump on that goalpost. We are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios, and if it wouldn't put me to sleep right now, I would drink an entire bottle of Cody Road. I promise. I did pour me a glass last night when I got home and enjoyed the Cody Road as I rewatched the second half and worked. And that is beautiful Cyclone Fanatic Cody Road bourbon right there. Anyways, Bloom, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today?
I'm similar boat to you, but honestly, like literally, everybody says this all the time, but I'm living the dream right now. Like I did not think this was possible for Iowa State to this all come together all at once. And then selfishly on my end, to be able to go from Salt Lake to Maui to Des Moines to Ames and have Iowa State just, really be as prominent as it ever has been all at the same time. And just really grateful. I mean, really. I mean, at the end of the day, for Cyclone Nation, the fans, for you, everyone that listens to this, I mean, this is what we dreamed of. And it's all kind of happening at once. And obviously, Iowa State's got a lot of work to do. The season's not over, but this is why we're Cyclone fans, and it's happening. Like, it's happening right now. So, literally, living the dream.
That was my overall take on last night, too. There was a lot of great football. That was a fun game, like a really good football game. We'll get to all that. My thing is that I'm a Vikings fan. Everybody knows that. I root for the team. Like, I don't really care who the quarterback is. I don't care who I'll just root for the Vikings for the rest of my life. With Iowa State, I root for the people. Not just the people playing. I'm wearing Jaywin Knowles' NIL t-shirt. You should buy it at CycloneFanaticShop.com. Great Christmas gift for somebody right there.
It is.
By the way, we're having our Black Friday sale. Really good deals, and you're supporting all sorts of local companies and Iowa State student athletes. How's that for a impromptu read?
Oh, we got our shirts up. I saw some shirts in Maui. Some Fanatic.
Your wife
shirts out
texted
there.
me some of those. Yeah, some of those old ones. By the way, these walking side
gosh.
basketball and wrestling quarter zips are my favorite thing we've ever done, I think. And your guys' the team shirts are phenomenal this year. So go and check them out.
Those will be collector's items.
The Script Cyclone sweatshirts are selling like crazy, by the way. People really love those.
I mean, why would you go to fanatics.com and just buy right there? Come on now.
Yeah, and support some guy in New York.
Right.
What I was saying is I root for the people now more than I do like the Cyclone team, if that makes sense. And I had this overwhelming sense of that last night in the press box. In fact, I got choked up when I was doing my post game with Leah because I was, it's guys that we know like Steve Kemp who waits after every game and picks me up in his golf cart so I don't have to walk back to my camper, and like your dad and Dan McCarney and Steve Loney and Ben Bruns and so all of our friends and and that's not mentioning the old timers that'll email me about watching Earl Bruce teams.
Back in Clyde Williams Field, yeah, absolutely.
That was the overwhelming sense I had last night, and then like it was weird for me because when I woke up this morning, I didn't feel that anymore. It was all on to Arizona State for me. Like for real, like I'm done with the
nostalgia. Yeah.
Well, we had all these people wanting us to do like 2 hours on last night, and I'm absolutely going to do that. But like I'm all like, because now it's like, okay, man, you got there, go do it, and you have a great opportunity. It's basically a pick 'em. Where last time it was like you're a pretty good underdog. Even I think you're a 6-point underdog or whatever. Nobody thought Iowa State was going to win that football game in 2020. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where my head's at here at 5:00 on Sunday night.
That's good. I mean, I'm similar. Like last night was special. I mean, it was special because You beat K-State, who's a really good program, a very similar program to Iowa State. It validated a lot of what we thought all along of, hey, this team has a chance to be really good. And then they had a hiccup. I mean, you lose to Texas Tech and Kansas, and I think everyone had the feeling of, oh my gosh, did we waste this opportunity with this special group of seniors, only to see this group bounce back and get back to 10 wins for the first time and prove everybody wrong again. I mean, it was what we talked about last night. I think the callers are great on the reaction show was, I mean, this team validated a lot of what the questions about Iowa State over its history were. It's like whenever the big moment came, it never rose to the occasion. And here it was. The moment didn't get much bigger than this in front of a bunch of, really good crowd, I thought, considering the circumstances in the cold. I mean, just all you have to go, Chris, you just go back, 20 years to 2004 and 2005, almost identical situations of trying to get to a championship game that we still talk about 20 years later, and Iowa State fell flat on its face both times. This time, bigger circumstance because there's more out there than just getting to a championship game and losing to Texas by 50, as probably would have happened those 2 years. Iowa State has some adversity it has to deal with, but goes and wins the game. And wins the game convincingly at the end of the day with a bunch of seniors that all stayed for the right reasons. Like for me, it was almost just apropos of what this program has been about. And all the time, Matt Campbell literally saying, trust the process. Stick with us. We're going to win championships. And Iowa State's right on the doorstep of one. And a lot of people didn't think it was possible. Even in late October, people were questioning, hey, is this ever going to happen at Iowa State? Well, they figured it out, won 3 gutty games. Just think about the back-to-back-to-back games Iowa State just won. Cincinnati, didn't play great. Utah played really well, but shot itself in the foot, and it was on the precipice of losing to a Utah team. And then this game where you get off to a good start, hold on for dear life, but then put them away late. It was just really, really, again, the word I'm going to come back to is just, apropos, and this is different Iowa State. This is not your old timers Iowa State. That was it was just enjoyable and just so grateful for having the opportunity. And now I'm with you. It's like the Major League movie. Now let's go win the whole effing thing. Like, it's all out there. I think, yes, does the pressure amplified? It is. But now I think the pressure is what Iowa State can do, not what it's not going to do, if that makes sense. Like, you've got that 10 wins thing off your back now. Now it's just let's go win the thing. It's not, I'm feeling the pressure of all these external things that Iowa State's never done it. Now it's, hey, let's just go do it.
I don't feel that with this group. I didn't even feel it last night. I felt like maybe it was like football god or whatever is up there when Conradi missed the 37-yarder that would have sealed it.
I'd say, hey, I'm not done with you yet, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that like testing all of us? Like, because we had the same thought. I couldn't sit in the press box any longer, so I came up and joined you guys in the Cyclone Radio Network booth. I also thought it was fitting that you were up there with all of us because you were for so many years, and Noah was there too. We had the whole group together.
Awesome.
It was phenomenal. We just needed Bruns is all we needed. Get Bruns back up there.
Big brother Bruns, man. It would have been nice to have him up there to get that big bear hug.
Yep. But even when he missed the kick, it's like I still like for some reason I didn't think Iowa State's defense would hold against Tech when they got put in that spot. It felt like, man, the dam's about to burst. I don't know. Last night, like Haycock was dialed in. He had those boys playing well. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't comfortable when they missed the kick, right? Like that would have sure been nice to end it, but we all kind of joked. It's like, well, this is never supposed to be easy. Come on, who do we think we are to have 2-possession lead here? And then we're watching the BYU Houston game.
It's at the same time. It's at the same time where Iowa State. Okay, the kick misses. It's literally like go back and cross check it because I've got my computer on and I'm checking that game because obviously that has implications. Conradi misses the field goal. Houston gets a pick. Goes down and scores, and it's up 7-0. I'm going, oh my gosh, like, is this really going to happen? Like,
that would have been gut wrenching.
That was just horrible because we talked about it all week, but it's again, this is different Iowa State.
But
like
we knew Fritz was going to do that. Like, we knew that Houston team was not.
They were not going to make it easy.
Die out there.
Nope. But it all, at the end of the day, has anything ever laid down and gone perfectly for Iowa State? Not really in life. but it did the last 2 weeks, and Iowa State had to earn it though to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, think back. I mean, I don't know if we said it on here, but I'm sure that. I mean, how many of our listeners who are. The thing I love about doing this show with you is because we have all these thousands of people who feel like they're having a conversation with us, which is what we want. How many of you guys out there? Yeah, I took a call in Cyclone Reaction after the Kansas game. The first call we took was a guy who said that the season's over. Like, I'm moving on to basketball. And the reason I point that out is not to dance on his grave.
For sure. It's
to point out that it did feel like this was not possible after that Kansas game for a couple of reasons. You know, one, it was like, while it was mathematically still possible, it really did feel like this team was trending in a pretty poor direction with all the injuries.
And Iowa State needed BYU to really
and they did, right? So, like, it all did come together. And to Iowa State's credit, it wasn't just, BYU collapsed. It didn't feel like Iowa State could rattle off 3 in a row at that point. I knew they had it in them, and we said multiple times on this show and on Two Guys that, like, this is when Campbell's at his best. You know that they will, but to actually do it is another thing, right? To rattle off 3 in a row in the way that they did against good teams. It's not like they were layups. Like, Cincinnati was playing its best football of the year when it came into Ames. You stifled them. They're done. And then you have to go to Utah, which I know their record isn't great, but you saw that defense. Like, we knew that was going to be a slog. It's a hard place to play. You're going west. Like, there's a lot against you.
You throw a pick six, and you muff a punt, and you
did everything you could to screw it up. Yeah. And, and then this Kansas State team, like, I believe when they've been at their best, they're the best team in the league. The problem is they're just not consistent. And, Avery Johnson's still young. He's going to be great, I think, but he is not there yet. Like, Haycock had him rattled, And to their credit, I thought Kansas State, when I charted the game this morning, they really mixed up coverages. They were in Rocco's head a little bit, I thought, in that football game. I was really impressed with what they did defensively.
Their secondary, specifically their corners, did as good a job as anybody on Jaden and Jalen. I thought they were great. Like, those two corners made a bunch of plays. That made life very difficult for Iowa State. I mean, almost the opposite of Utah, who decided to single up Higgins, which still in retrospect is baffling. But they made things hard. It was really hard for Iowa State to find those two, and Iowa State had to grind it out. I mean, I thought the game plan for K-State was really good in that, hey, we don't think Iowa State can run it downhill at us and have enough success to offset not having those two weapons. And Iowa State found a way. I thought the second half was a grown man second half for Iowa State. It didn't play well on offense at all, but found a way to grind a couple out. Rocco, again, not perfect, but he's a winner, man.
He was clutch last night, though.
He just made, again,
every third down,
And then even like a Carson Brown who drops one that would have been a massive first down. And they come back to him on, I think it was the play of the day, really, in large respect. It was a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, all the momentum with K-State. And Rocco throws an absolute just dart right between 3 defenders, and Brown hangs on to it. And those are the types of things that in the years past Iowa State drops, and we're talking about it 20 years later of, oh, man, if only, this would have happened in that game, or this guy dropped that pass or caught that pass. But for Iowa State, it didn't. It worked. And Iowa State made the plays, and here we are.
We'll continue to look back at the game. I want to get through our sponsors, and while we're being all sappy, we wouldn't be here without these people. And when I say it's about the people, it's like we do have like a family here at Cyclone Fanatic. Like I always tell people, the independent local media thing is not easy. If it did, everybody would be doing it. We have an incredible group of humans that support Cyclone Fanatic, as all of our subscribers, Patreon, and the premium subscribers. So you're all a part of it as well. I'll start off by our main man, Jeff Kelderman at Kelderman Manufacturing, Mark Steck. Steck, Vikings go with another win today. I'm sure he was just doing cartwheels. Kelderman.com. Check out their YouTube page. I love it. If you like cars and trucks and badass like diesel trucks and like souped up crap, that's your YouTube page. Go check it out. I check it out all the time. Another one is I was so all my best friends, not including you because you were working with me yesterday, they were all at Welch Avenue Station before the game. And I always know if I'm at Welch Avenue Station, there's a 50-50 chance that Chappie, Andrew Chaplin, our realtor buddy, was going to be there. He was right there smack dab in the middle of the picture. I'm sure he was jonesing all night as well.
I got a text from somebody who was at Welch. I'm like, hey, dude, guess who else is here? I'm like, well, I've got one guess. I bet it's Chappie. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? Like, 'cause he's a legend.
Yeah, he's Hunziker and Associates. He's your realtor if you need anything in the great state of Iowa.
I spent a lot of time with Denny from Clear Lake in Maui.
I was following Denny from Clear Lake on Twitter. He was having a hell of a time.
He was having a great time. Denny was having a ball. Well, we had a ball in Maui, but he mentioned Chappie specifically as helping the legend Denny from Clear Lake out.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Denny's the man. I've really come to enjoy him and his wife over the years. When I said the people, like to me,
like guys like that, and
yeah, like I mentioned Brian and Kathy Shimp on the show last night. Like I mean, people like this who I don't know, we're just so lucky to do this. It's hard. Like there's a lot of stuff that we get to do that like people don't see and that we don't get to do, we don't want to do. I'm just so happy for all you people. Like, and I hope you can get to Dallas, and I hope that they can finish the job, because that's ultimately, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you won't be able to take away last night's memory of getting to that 10 wins and going on the field and doing all that stuff, but it would ultimately make it that much sweeter. And that, you know, anyways, back to the game. Enough of the sappy stuff.
Yes.
John Haycock is, in my opinion, the best. Not a head coach, but he's the best assistant coach, position coach, whatever, to come through Iowa State University. I truly believe that. I don't want to be hyperbolic. I thought about this deeply. I had come to that conclusion yesterday before the game. When I saw Malik Verdon in street clothes, I panicked. And I don't think I'm probably alone. You can draw a direct correlation to this defense and Malik and Jeremiah Cooper and Bo Freeler. Like, you just can't. And they have been injury prone over the years. And when any of those guys are out, there's a big drop off. I would argue that Malik is the biggest drop off when he's been out, especially against a team that runs the football with a quarterback like Kansas State. It went from being a bad matchup to a catastrophic matchup when Malik wasn't on the field for warm-ups. I panicked. John had a phenomenal game plan. He was more aggressive than normal. He thought that if you could get to that quarterback, he would make some bonehead moves, which Avery Johnson did. The safety he took is unexcusable. Dan Holm from Ankeny Fanatic was sitting with me in the press box, and he says he makes a great point. How rare is it to take a safety from the 22-yard line?
Is that where that play started from?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Think about that. Like that, you got to really screw that up, right? Like, so anyway, it's not about making fun of Avery Johnson, because that could come back to haunt me. That kid's going to be good.
I thought he had a couple throws. I'm like, holy smokes, that's big time.
The point is, Haycock getting this group up off the deck after that Kansas game, and you know, Tayshaun James was an absolute liability on the field multiple times this year. He was Iowa State's best player on defense last night.
Incredible.
Just a phenomenal job by the staff, Deion Broomfield, to get him ready, and Tayshaun, who it reminded me of Jontez Williams early last year. Got burned a couple times when you're in the secondary. Everybody sees it, you know, and then he steps in and plays the best game of the season for him and forces a fumble, a couple of big hits, grades out the highest on Iowa State's defense on Pro Football Focus. Haycock and that defensive staff get so much credit to me. All the injuries, no excuses, next man in. You know who I was thinking about last night? He didn't play. I was thinking about Rylan Barnes and what that kid gave to the program when the 19th linebacker had been hurt and this walk-on comes in and is playing football for the Cyclones. The whole, like,
you don't win the Baylor and West Virginia game without him.
No, right? Like, so like that's where I just go to Haycock, because it's like he's kind of on his like perch up there, and They just figured it out. But he had a great game plan, and he out-schemed them last night, especially in the second half. Really got them going.
No question. And then just the resiliency from that group, and also I thought it was cool. So you tweeted something about Haycock, and Anthony Johnson chimed in on Twitter today. Did you see that? So Anthony said, hey, and shout out to Coach Broomfield as well. He's done an unbelievable job with the safeties, and I agree. And it's so cool.
No, the tweet was about
Tayshaun. That's right. Yeah.
Because I can't put into words how bad he was against Kansas. Like, I felt terrible for him.
Well, no, I think and that's what the beauty of this program is. I remember it well. Now go back and listen. After the Kansas game, Matt was asked in the Tuesday presser that followed. And everybody's like, hey, talk about your safety position. And he singled out Tayshaun. He's like, hey, he made a lot of really good plays in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember people thinking, and even writing on the message, we're like, what is Campbell talking about?
What are you watching,
what are you watching, Coach? But this is what he does. This is why you see the emotion before the game with those players. He never, ever, ever bails on his guys. Same with that entire coaching staff. I love this. So Aiden just pulled it up. Anthony Johnson responded to Chris. Broom has done a hell of a job with the safety group since he got here. And obviously Anthony was converted from a corner to a safety. He would know more than anybody now with the Giants in the NFL. But this program never bails on its guys. And they believed in Tayshaun. They knew he had it in him. Same with Jack Sadowski. Think how much criticism that guy got in his career when he shouldn't have had to play. He was a true freshman, and then even earlier this year he was hurt, and it was like, what's wrong with that guy again? Whoa, that's a recruiting miss. Like, no, give him some time. And I think that's Iowa State's advantage in this whole era. When everybody else is bailing on everybody because you're not good enough, Iowa State sticks with you, and ultimately that's resiliency, and that belief pays off because you don't win that game without those two. I thought Sadowski and James were two of Iowa State's best players on the field, and it's two guys that if you would ask, some of the folks in the fan base, and I'm not calling out the fans, it's what happens, they would have rather those guys been off the team. And
let me read you something real quick.
That's the cool part, Chris, is again back to just trusting in people and Haycock, Campbell, Broomfield, that whole crew, the job they did with this defense that ended up leading the Big 12 in scoring defense this year with all those injuries.
I want to read a text I got from a very prominent name. Everybody listening would know this name, but I'm not going to reveal who it is. But I don't think he'll mind if I read this text. He goes, here's what makes it more rewarding. Development is a lost art in college football. Teams don't have depth, period. Even the Georgias of the world. It's a dying breed. We are lucky to have a staff like this. It's a shit show at a lot of places. You're paying one-hit wonders and keeping your fingers crossed that they buy in, and then something like Florida State happens and it all burns up. They have really great balance at Iowa State.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. And that's why, and we're going to get into a bigger discussion later in the show, that is why I know, quote-unquote, the SEC has more talent. But, Chris, I would argue anymore, just like in mid-major college basketball, you'd rather be old. If you, like, here's a numbers game. I was thinking, I couldn't sleep last night, so I was writing.
You should have just come over. We watch the game again and drink more Cody Road.
Writing a column in my head of, all right, so let's just do some numbers, right? So, any given year, now schools will lose in the SEC, 20 to 30 guys that are transfers, right? They'll leave. They will have to replace them with younger guys. Where a program like Iowa State, you'll have a lot of times 22 and 23-year-olds playing against 19 and 20-year-olds. Like, yes, they're not the stars that these guys are in the SEC, but they're older. They've been through more. They've developed more. Just like you'd rather have Trey King than an 18-year-old freshman, right?
Great point.
Like, at some point, you got to give
good point.
You got to give credit to those teams that stick it out, and how, yes, their recruiting rankings are higher, and traditionally that is the way you've had to do it, because if you recruited well, but those guys couldn't leave. We need to reassess as college football at all what a good program is, because the transfer portal didn't open until 2021, or the NIL world didn't open until 2021. We can't rely on data from the early 2000s and mid-2000s about what a successful program is now. Like, the game has changed. And until we really go through this playoff cycle a few times, we're not going to know what's super valuable. And I think Iowa State has found the secret sauce here. I really do. Is you got to get good players. You got to keep them. Because if you keep and get old, my 22 and 23-year-olds are going to be better than your 18, 19-year-old 5-stars. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Well, we got good news. I don't know if it's like officially official, but Tyler Miller didn't walk on senior day. And I poked around a little bit today, and he's planning to come back he has a COVID year and a redshirt year, both. Man, what a great start to the transfer portal season to have a bookend tackle like that who's 23 or whatever, 24, coming back for next year. We're going to be able to do a lot more in the offseason coming up.
Yeah,
We're not going to waste too much time. But to your point, like, that is huge to have those grown-ass men on the offensive line.
Well, and then what's going to happen is you're going to see it now. Some of these teams are really going to spend heavy, where Iowa State's got a Tayshaun James and a Jack Sadowski that are just there.
Yeah.
And it's just so much easier to develop and retain than it is to go out and poach and buy. And I think you're going to see that's not always the right answer. Now, it worked for Florida State the 1 year, but that was fool's gold in a lot of way. And I really believe that if Iowa State can hang on to what it has right now and keep its core in place, I think this is more common of, again, give me my 22 and 23-year-olds that have played 3, 4, 5 years than your one guy who's been there for 2 months.
I completely agree. I also think as we're going to get into our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment coming up, and it's been an active day as far as Neil Brown has been fired.
Yeah.
Gus Malzahn has left Central Florida. But I also, following your lead, there's not as much coach movement happening right now.
There's not.
And, man, the importance of being able to just be stable, I think, with great leadership. What I loved about last night is I think it validated a little bit what we've been saying, and it's not just us. There's a general feeling that in this new league, Iowa State can be in this position more often than not. You are not going to go to the title game every year. That is not what I'm saying should be the expectation. But I do think, there was this level of take Wisconsin during the mid-2000s, not Wisconsin now, but like every year in the Big Ten West, they thought they could go to the championship game. If things broke their way, that Iowa State could be one of those programs in the Big 12. It's going to be hard, especially with this many leagues.
Yep.
2 out of 6, right? Like, I mean, even last night, it's like you're sitting there watching this meaningless game in Provo, Utah.
You had to get some help.
Yeah,
Yep.
right? So, like, could have gone the other way. But to me, like, it validates all that even with all these injuries, like, you tell me we're not going to have Caleb Bacon going into the year, I'm like, shit. It's a huge loss. And that was just a start.
Yep, Ben Bramer.
Yeah, we had no idea. Yeah, Bacon, Bramer, Verdon's going to be playing in a cast.
Brazina only ended up playing 3 games.
Yeah, Brazina, after the second half of the West Virginia game, he was toast, because he was hurt.
Yep, he's going to be really good.
You're going to be without Singleton for almost a quarter of the season.
Yep.
Orange is going to miss a key game.
Yeah.
By
the way, that guy, his improvements was just
You
massive.
guys got WeWillCollective.com.
Yeah. Yes. The portal
They're
opens
doing a
the 9th.
Venmo drive right now.
Literally,
we have a matching donor.
We got matching, and so we've raised.
And that's till when?
Well, it was Sunday at noon, but the gentleman sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, I'll keep it going if you want to keep it going." So we're gonna do another day.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, can we get down to Arlington and will you match whatever we can raise at 4 o'clock on Friday?
How about? I'll just put it this way: we have enough of our bigger donors who want to help. Everyone wants to capitalize right now, but what the bigger donors tell me, guys, is they want everybody to contribute, not just them.
Well,
and so you'll hear from us tomorrow. We got another thing coming for the rest of this week to celebrate championship week.
We also are doing. We haven't even talked about this, but we'll just do it right now with all of our friends. We are doing a charter to the bowl game with We Will and Cyclone Fanatic, which could be a really big deal for the collective.
Yes.
We're debating if we should do – I don't really want to do anything because I don't want to jinx anything. But what we are thinking, if it is the Alamo Bowl or the playoff, And that would be if it's like the Fiesta. If it's in like Columbus, Ohio, I don't foresee us doing a charter.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah.
Well, I mean, tickets are going to be – there's not going to be enough tickets to do a charter to an away play. If it's in freaking Penn State, like, it's almost impossible to be able to do that. So if it's the Alamo or if it is the Fiesta or the Rose or whatever, we would do a charter. So remember that. There's only one place where you can help the collective, and that would be it. And stay tuned, and we'll let you guys know.
And we'd love feedback specifically on the like. I know we would fill the Fiesta Bowl or the Rose Bowl. Like,
yeah, we're
question.
debating on the Alamo.
The Alamo. Would you want to join a charter, make travel easy, but then also help the collective out? I mean,
we would need to fill 163 seats.
Can we fill 163 seats? Like, let us know seriously. And the cost would be very competitive. Like, we're not trying to gouge anybody here.
I mean, I would think that we're going to be probably the cheapest option out there, but I don't know that.
But then we'd also help out the collective. But again, we want to make sure there's interest.
And you
for
get
the
to
Alamo
drink
Bowl.
With me and Blum on a
we
plane.
can hang out with us. Yeah, why not?
We know we got a lot of connections on this charter. I bet we can get you some free beers, some free Ames lagers handed out, some Cody Road.
Yeah, no, it'll be a great time. But we just want to make sure we can fill a plane with 163 folks before we really push it. So give us feedback.
Good idea. Yeah,
would love to know that because again, this is not free to pull off, and so we don't want to be on the hook if we can't get the interest.
Correct. That would be, and then you wouldn't have any kickers.
Yeah, exactly. We need to replace number 9 and number 13 on offense.
You talk about the high end donors. I want to talk about the sickos in the crowd last night. There's a lot of these like iconic Cyclones sicko games. Unfortunately, the ones that I generally refer to, Iowa State just wasn't very good, and it didn't matter. Look at our guy Coop here last night. This was from section 30. I do have a video of him singing "Sweet Caroline" at this point in the game with his shirt off. Look at this lady behind him.
She's
just
going,
staring at him like
weirdo.
His body. If you're watching us on YouTube, like you can just see like there's just steam coming off of his. This is a 40-year-old man. This is one of my best friends. He was the chef at the Festival of Meats for the Cincinnati game.
He's a proud engineering grad.
You're
so
damn
really
right he is.
Super smart guy.
This guy right here is more successful than 90% of our audience. I will promise you that. And I'm using Coop as an example of a guy who does donate to the collective, and anybody can help. And that's kind of what you're getting to. So. I don't need to spend the whole show on that, but it's an important time.
But so I guess real quick, any donation you make to the collective between now and Saturday will be matched in one way or another. So don't worry about timing. Anything works, whether it's Venmo through our website. And honestly, like, it all helps. It all helps because the portal does open in 8 days, and clearly I want to run it back next year. And we got some players we need to keep, and hopefully get some players as well.
All right, let's go into our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. And I also want to, before we do that, just a little housekeeping. Here is our plan for the week. We are going to have a Big 12 championship game preview podcast later this week. I am pushing us to do Williams and Blum Wednesday on Tuesday, where we can focus on the Marquette game. Are you okay with that?
Great. Love it.
Because we do have a huge game coming up with basketball on Wednesday night in Hilton Coliseum. We're is Marquette in the top 10? I don't even know.
I believe they'll be 10th.
Yeah, so two top 10 teams.
Comes out tomorrow.
Top 10 matchup in Hilton Coliseum on Wednesday night. So we'll have Williams.
It's on ESPN Plus.
What a disaster!
What a complete
joke.
A
disaster! An absolute disaster that game would be on ESPN Plus. Anyways, so Williams and Blum Wednesday will be released on Tuesday, and then I believe on Thursday we will have a Williams and Blum Big 12 championship game preview show where we dig deep on the matchup. I might ask Woody to be part of that with us. We'll see how schedules play out and all that good stuff. That is our game plan for the rest of the week.
You know what we need to do? Because we did it 4 years ago in prep. We got to get Mac on.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
I feel like that's the only thing we can do.
There's only one way to do this week, and that's with Dan McCarney involved in some capacity. Yeah,
it's a catastrophe if Dan McCarney's not involved in one way or another.
We got to get real windy. Real windy, no doubt about it.
I'm sending the text.
Yep.
It's happening. We just got to iron down a time, and I'm sending the text.
Let's go.
Yeah. Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Plant your independence. Plant Wiffles. Gus Malzahn leaves a head coaching job to go be the offensive coordinator at Florida State. Thought this was a little bit fishy. Looked into it. Him and what's his ass go way back. Norvell, yeah, the old Memphis coach. These guys knew each other at like a high school job in Arkansas. So like a little bit Chip Kelly-ish going to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. I guess like it was weird to me because this isn't going to a Big Ten SEC job. Florida State's got like significant problems, I would say, with
no doubt
the ACC and that whole situation. But they also have a very engaged donor base there that thinks that they should be competing for national championships. A little bit of Malzahn maybe getting out before he gets fired type situation. What did you think of this? This one, it did surprise me, though. Like Malzahn, I don't know. It surprised me when Chip Kelly just left UCLA, too. So Malzahn, like, I feel like at this stage in his career, it would be really hard for him to take orders from anybody. But what do you think?
Yeah, he just feels slippery to me, and it just felt like, hey, I'm gonna get out. I just want to get out. And it's with his pal. So I guess of all things, good for Norvell to be comfortable enough, honestly, to hire somebody with that ego to be his coordinator. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
That could go a couple of different ways. But you're right. Florida State, one of the best funded programs, even though they're in the ACC. That donor base invested big time. Now, bit them in the backside this year, but it's there. They've got dollars. And so I think that's Norvell probably admitting fault of, hey, I need somebody else here in the room to
yeah,
look
he
at
gave up play
me.
calling duties. He's been doing it.
Yeah, I guess I give kudos to him for like taking a little bit of humble pie. But for me and Malzahn, this is survival mode and not much more than that. He's not getting another big-time head job anymore, so you might as well stay active and not have to move very far.
They should hire Scott Frost.
Yeah, where does UCF do they run? Yeah, that's a great point.
If you're UCF, do you call Alex Golsh?
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know. Does he have the resume? Has he done good enough?
The hottest name will be the Tulane coach, Sumrall.
Yeah.
North Carolina's already, peeking up at him, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting market. I just don't know. Like, and now we'll talk about West Virginia. I don't know where you go. You go down almost all these jobs. You probably got to go down a level. I mean, the Big 12 is still way more attractive than any other Group of 5 conference, but it's going to be hard. I mean, it's really hard to change. I think West Virginia is an interesting case study of what can happen to a above-average program when you fire a coach, after a okay season. Do they keep it together? And then the other thing, C-Dub, you got to act real fast now, or else it's going to be just, catch the next bus out of Morgantown type situation for all their players, and it's going to be impossible to rebuild. Now, I will say this about West Virginia. They have big-time NIL support, so I think, depending on who they get, they'll be able to move pretty quickly because, long story short, their main dude owns the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he can single-handedly make them pretty competitive. So I would be interested to know ultimately who pulled that string. And
so who does that guy want?
Right. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So what that guy wants, there might be a connection there, and maybe West Virginia keeps it someone. Neil Brown was not a West Virginia guy. I would be curious if they
thought that
keep
was
it
a
within
weird
their,
place that he ended up. I always thought he would end up somewhere in the South. Like, not that West Virginia is not. I always thought Neil would be an SEC coach back when he was coming up.
Yeah.
Or even like one of the Oklahomas or something
Texas
like
or something like that. Yeah. I'll be curious where he ends up. I mean, I think that's a guy that will be highly sought after as a coordinator.
I don't think he's a bad coach.
I don't either. Think it was just not a great fit. I don't think they really embraced him there either.
No. Yeah, it never felt like they liked him. And it got to the point that's a hard place too, because they have like an SEC mentality, but they don't really have the SEC resources or background. So they, like what Florida State's doing, like, well, they've got however many national championships, and like that's like the expectation there, even though they're not. Like West Virginia, that's what those fans expect. But the problem is, it's like, especially now that they're such a, not necessarily now, but when Brown got there, they were such a geographical outlier. Like the whole world's different now.
Yep.
Like that went from being like an elite job in the Big East to like a okay one in the Big 12.
It's tough, and they've always recruited Florida hard. I think that's again they have resources though. I think they'll get somebody there they care, which matters, and I think keep an eye on this, C-Dub. Who does North Carolina get? Who does West Virginia get? Will be interesting to see from a coaching philosophy standpoint what's a more attractive job. Because I would say. You go to the Big 12, it's anybody's ball game, clearly. We saw that this year. I mean, literally, the team that's picked last is playing for a championship. Where in the ACC, the hierarchy is a little bit more preset. So that North Carolina job, pretty good job, but it may take longer to win there. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what job some of these coaches prefer now. Because honestly, Purdue, I'm going to put Purdue in that category too. So Purdue fires its coach today. Would you rather coach at West Virginia or Purdue?
West Virginia.
Yeah. And I think that's the next domino in this crazy world to drop of, I could get paid at Purdue, but I'm not going to – it's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard. Now, Indiana did it. Mm-hmm. The issue with Indiana doing it is everybody wants to be the next Indiana, and I think that's a flash in the pan with some help. They got some helpful scheduling, and that guy's really good.
He is really good, but I still think that they jumped way too fast to give him the contract that they did. I totally agree. That was a move that you made 10 years ago.
Yes. And
I think maybe I'm not saying the guy is going to fail. I'm just saying, man, I mean, haven't we learned like that one really good, that doesn't really mean what we think. Look at Norvell last year.
Yeah, and then
before those quarterbacks go down, Mike Norvell was a genius. Now all of a sudden he's a freaking idiot. Like, I don't buy that.
And
I don't buy that.
What Cignetti did at Indiana, and you can only do it once, is he brought like 20 guys with it from James Madison. Mm-hmm. You can't do that every year. So,
and old guys, to your point.
Yes. That's not gonna get. I'm gonna be on this soapbox. Like, we need to recalibrate what we think of successful programs are. It's not just recruiting rankings anymore, because give me a 3-star that's 23 over a 5-star that's 18. And I think the programs like Iowa State that can embrace that are going to have a lot of success.
Two other topics I wanted to get to before we play guess the point spreads. Chris Kleiman's press conference made a lot of news this week where he talked about the Big 12 needs to play 8 conference games. I don't know. Like, that's not realistic financially. I'll put it that way. So he's going to get my friend of the program, Brett Yormark's not going to go for that.
I saw him yesterday. You saw him.
Yeah. We had a lovely embrace.
Yormark was in Ames yesterday.
My point to that, though, would and I'm sorry, and I know I'll catch backlash for this. I don't think the Big 12 is going to be in a better playoff spot in the next few years. As far as, because the difference between this, hear me out, and I would love to have this conversation with Chris Kleiman, because we've talked about, well, why is the perception of the league the way it is, and there's all sorts of history that goes to that. It even starts back with Bryles and Leach, and everybody's like, oh, they're not playing any defense. Well, my argument would be the offenses were so freaking good, they were reinventing football. The defenses didn't know what the hell to do. Nobody cares.
Let's talk about that.
My point to Kleiman would be it's not even the 9 or 8 conference games. Like, his point is correct. Like, nothing he's saying is wrong. I don't think it'll matter, because in this league, all these schools are so similar. There's not like these 4 alphas that are going to feed, and then you don't have these like 3 shitty programs that are just terrible.
This isn't the Big Ten.
No, or the SEC for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
true.
And even the ACC really kind of has that. Like, if you think about it, the Big 12 there's so much parity because it's the one league. It is the only league in college football that is all the misfits that just got together and said, "Hey, we're gonna do our best." So it's all of these programs that are like good but not great, that have good fan bases, not big fan bases, but really engaged ones. They're all so similar. And I think that more often than not, the Big 12 championship game is going to be like it is this year with 2 lost teams. I truly believe that. I told you that in the offseason too, and it did happen. That's the Big 12's problem. And that's what's going to keep it from getting multiple teams in the college football playoff on a year-end basis. Now, there's going to be years where somebody will pop up and do all. Do you agree though? Like I don't see that changing long term.
The issue is it's both. Yes, more often than not, I think your Big 12 champion is going to have 2 losses. It's just hard. Like these teams are very, very similar.
And what that guy who texted me about with the depth thing is real.
Yeah, absolutely. Like look, there's a reason the NFL, like you don't get many Detroit Lions that are 10-1, 11-1. Even your Vikings have been living on a string in there.
We're up in a cloud right now, man. Yeah. Like it's.
But when you're close, you're going to lose some of those. Like how many games could Iowa State have lost this year, right? And they're 10-2.
It could be
like,
7-5.
Right, it'd been pretty easily.
But just like in 22, they went 4-8. They could have been 7-5.
You got
pretty easily.
When you're that close, and even like a Georgia on Friday night, probably should have lost that game.
I was thinking about that. Like, how stupid of a sport is it that we've got these people in this committee room, like Georgia, like 1 inch goes differently, and we're going to talk about them completely different. Like, oh man, his Kirby Smart lost his fastball, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
To a team in the ACC that
an average team.
Yeah, they lost 3 games in that league, but yet now, yeah, I'm not going to go there today. But you're to that point. Yes, the Big 12 is fighting a couple things. It's lack of success, like we talked about in the playoff from 10 years ago on, and then not enough of those non-conference marquee wins. Now, I would argue, I think these teams, if they would play now, I can't wait for the playoff. I literally think we're going to see, potential. I won't call it chaos, but it's not going to go like the SEC thinks it's going to go, or they're just going to run through everything. It's not going to happen. It just won't. But with the Big 12, to get there, honestly, C-Dub, if K-State or Utah were 10-2, they're in the playoff as an at-large. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
Is that preseason ranking has
absolutely.
so much play that if Utah was 10-2, if Utah's Iowa State, let's switch them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Utah starts, 10th this year? If Utah plays Iowa State's schedule, goes 10-2, there is no question if they got left out of the championship game in this tiebreaker, they would be an at-large team because they started there. That's a problem with the sport. So you're getting beat. People think the Big 12 is not good this year because your top 4 teams that were picked high didn't do well. Like they're not giving credit to the bottom half. They're saying, "Oh, the top half's not good, so therefore everybody else is bad," based on the preseason expectations. Nobody wants to talk about Oklahoma State going winless, Utah winning 2 games, Kansas struggling. Those are your top 3 teams.
Look at Oklahoma,
and then Texas,
Florida State and Oklahoma State are baffling.
Yeah,
Even Oklahoma State more than Florida. I've said this, and now that they ended up going winless, it's even Oklahoma State going winless in the Big 12 this year might be the most surprising season-long finish I've ever seen covering the Big 12. I think it is with all the experience that they had.
And they beat Arkansas, who finished 500 in the SEC.
Yeah.
So again, if Oklahoma State is Arizona State, they're probably in as at large right now.
I would agree.
Which is the problem of preseason expectations clouding your judgment on when the league is good or bad based on who's at the top of the standings. And
we have a shit system on how we do it. It has to evolve. It has to evolve.
Now, but the only way to make it evolve, C-Dub, is you got to win in the playoff. Now, the other problem, and this is an avalanche.
I'm saying like the
here.
way they do the AP poll to start the year has to evolve.
Sure.
I don't know what the answer is, but it has to change.
It's just not. It's not working. But everyone's going to say, "Oh, the Big 12's no good," because it's going to get probably 1 team in, and if that team loses, then all of a sudden, the Big 12 wasn't good this year. It's like, well, that's not fair.
And because of the perception, you're going to have to go to Happy Valley.
Yeah, and you got 4 in. And so, of course, you're going to have your odds are going to be a lot better because you're playing at home and you're getting a bye. Like, yeah, you're going to go further in the playoff. You can't judge everything based on the playoff when you're getting screwed before the playoff even starts. And the only way to fix that is, unfortunately, I'm with you. I don't know if there is one. Like
you just have to win.
You're going to have to win it, but even then, you're going to be behind the 8 ball when next year starts because you're not going to get the respect that because you didn't do well in the playoff. Like it's just the cycle that keeps on going. And unfortunately, the Big 12's on the wrong side of it.
Is that what you're seeing? The Big 12 champ would, unless Boise would lose, the Big 12 champ would be like at Penn State.
Yeah, well, it'd be that 5. Yeah, if Oregon beats Penn State, right.
So I'm just real quick, just for fun, I'm going to see what the line would be as we work our way into
guess so basically, I mean, essentially the way I'm looking at it, C-Dub, the Big 12 champ will most likely have to play the loser of Penn State Oregon in that first round, would be my best guess.
So let's say it's Penn State. Iowa State would be about a 13-point underdog.
In Happy Valley.
Yeah. Arizona State would be a larger underdog.
What about Oregon going out to
let's see here.
Probably closer to 17.
Oregon, not as much. It would be, 16, 15, 16. Probably, I would guess that more because I would think that to get the public money would be on Oregon. They would want to get that to 17, I would think.
That's the unfortunate part is this Big 12 team is going to get in, and then they're going to have to go there, and then if they lose, they're going to say, oh, well, the Big 12 didn't advance to the playoff. It's like, well, that's not. Well,
even like when TCU beat Michigan nobody talks about the fact that they beat Harbaugh in Michigan. They just got their ass kicked by one of the greatest teams in the history of the sport, which they did, and it was embarrassing. All that can be true, but they still beat Michigan.
And I would argue, C-Dub, based on my earlier comments, you're not going to have a super team like that because you cannot keep your entire roster for 4 or 5 years like you could 6, 7 years ago. And Georgia just kept building 4 stars on 5 stars. They can't do that anymore. They're trying to change the rules because they know they can't do that anymore. You're going to see a lot more parity, but unfortunately I'm afraid that the chapters have already been written because now the SEC can say, oh, well, we were good 15 years ago when the rules were different. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but the only way to change it is to win, and it's going to take somebody going out and being a big underdog and winning a couple of games in the playoff for that perception to change.
Move What Matters.
It's possible.
MoveWhatMatters.com. Holiday season. You want to do some giving. Got tax deductions coming up, baby. MoveWhatMatters.com. You can help our friends at the Iowa State University Foundation and become a more well-rounded Cyclone. Each year, I give to the marching band, veterinary medicine, the Greenlee School of Journalism, and the Ivy College of Business. Look at that. Let's play Guess the Point Spreads here with our friends from WebWise. Try WebWise.com, WebWise Solutions. You don't need to spend $15,000 on a, custom website for your business. Use who I use. Use my friends at WebWise. We get the music going, Aiden. It's not the same without the music.
I did not do well last week. I'm blaming jet lag.
Well, you were on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it was freaking late.
Jet lag is a real thing, by the way.
Well, I guess it wasn't late for you, but it was freaking late. It was like midnight when we recorded that.
It was crazy. What a week.
Okay, conference championship game, guess the point spreads. The Iowa State opened as a favorite in this game, and then it quickly went the other way. So the Sharps are on Arizona State here to the point where Arizona State is now a 2.5-point favorite.
Wow,
that doesn't surprise me.
That
doesn't really surprise me, though. The perception, again, is that, that's when I saw Iowa State -1, I thought that it would quickly move.
Well, Arizona State's been playing really well. I mean, look at their last 3 games. They've just been destroying people. So, what's that over/under? I'm gonna guess 54.
51, close enough. That would be a win for the total. I would give you that.
All right.
Okay.
11 a.m. right? 11 a.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m. ABC.
ABC. So we're probably gonna get my guy McDonough. I hope we get McDonough. I love McDonough.
I'm gonna go through some of these, the ones that really matter. We have Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State 3.5. Tulane, Army. That doesn't really matter anymore. 4. Tulane matters, or Tulane doesn't matter anymore since they lost. All right, this is the one that we're all paying attention to. UNLV, Boise State, Mountain West on the line. Guess the point spread, Bloom.
Is this in Vegas?
I
think it is.
It says at Boise State on Action Network.
Oh, do they just play that to the home team?
Yeah, it is in Boise. It is in Boise.
Oh,
so that sucks.
That's not good. Because the thought is, for those that are not on the Twitter machine, and there's days where I wish I wasn't on there, because Boise's the highest ranked team higher ranked than the Big 12 champion will be, they will get a bye, right?
Correct.
It
They
doesn't
would be the
matter.
4 seed in
It
the
doesn't matter.
playoff.
Then that's a shitty ass conference that whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they only lost to Oregon by 3, so therefore, anyway.
Guess the point spread.
Boise State's a 12-point favorite.
You are so far off. 3.5.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
I'm with you, dude. I would have guessed closer to 10. So don't feel I would have botched that too.
Come on, Rebs.
Isn't that a good sign?
Yes, it is. That's crazy. I haven't missed one like that in a long time.
I'm glad you missed it that way. That's a good sign.
That's a good sign, everybody.
Mac, Ohio at Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is a 2.5-point favorite. Georgia, Texas for the SEC. What's the point spread?
Man.
God, Georgia, what the hell is wrong with them? The big winner here is Tennessee for not having to play in this
No
game.
kidding. That's
And even like Alabama,
well, both these teams are in, right? Like, even with Georgia.
both
loses.
of these teams are.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that Georgia won the other night.
Georgia's
yeah,
in.
absolutely.
I mean, it's sad. Like, again, there are times I like Tessitore, but the whole like, this is for Georgia to make the playoffs. Like, why do they just get guaranteed to be
What
in?
about my Gamecocks? They just win at Clemson.
They're probably going to try and
And-
get them in too.
No, but if Clemson wins the ACC, I would argue that it'll keep South Carolina out,
Oh, yeah.
who they just beat.
It's gonna be this. It's gonna be chaotic next week. This is probably Georgia -3.
Hold on, I lost my spot. Yeah, you're right. No, you're wrong. Texas -3.
Even though Georgia beat them by 2 tutties in
Yep.
Austin,
Yep.
I am still on jet lag, I guess.
Hey, it is what it is, brother. What about the battle for the Sun Belt? Marshall at Louisiana. You don't need to guess this one. I wouldn't expect you to know it. Louisiana -4. Clemson SMU for the ACC.
We've just forgotten, by the way, that BYU went on the road and beat SMU. Like, somehow that is never talked about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Like, SMU is a 3-point favorite.
2.5. That's a win. Penn State, Oregon. This game, for the record, is in Indianapolis.
Penn State, Oregon. Ooh. I say Oregon -3.
3.5. That's a win. And that's it. There's no other games.
Eyes on Iowa State. As John Walter said, it's a boo versus scataboo.
Have you looked at Ken Palm yet for the Marquette game?
No, I would guess it's probably 4 or 5 for that one.
6.
6.
Iowa State by 6.
It's gonna be a fun one. Marquette may have the best player in the nation because you don't think about Marquette, but Cam Jones is elite.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see Shaka back. I like Shaka.
Yeah, I
Smart.
like Shaka too. I think everybody likes Shaka. Coaches like Shaka.
Marquette, according to Ken Palm, has the nation's longest active win streak at 8. Look at that.
They've been good. That's gonna be a fun game on ESPN Plus.
That's. I mean, we had people wanting us to go like 4 hours tonight.
I could tonight,
I
yeah.
can't. I don't have the energy. Again, I what comes up must come down, and I have crashed.
We got a big week ahead, everybody. Recharge, refocus, and we'll see you at Jerry's World.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't even really hit on Arizona State tonight. We understand that. I haven't watched their game yet against Arizona. I don't know if I want to because they just pummeled
I watched
Arizona.
and
They
up
just
in the
pummeled
booth,
them.
and they either Arizona didn't want to be there or Arizona State.
You know what?
is
There's
elite.
actually like the Arizona fans really don't like that coach.
Well, he had a bad year. So
Hey, that was my stone cold lock
I said,
preseason.
we gotta go back and listen.
Was take the under on
Take
Arizona.
the under in Arizona. Hey.
But it was more just like, again, like you
Big
can't.
change. Yeah, big change.
They just lost too many guys.
But
I know that they kept the 2 marquee guys, but they lost too many depth pieces.
That's the problem, though. If they would have gone 10-2, they would be probably in an at-large.
Yeah.
It's a perception thing.
Look how poorly the media botched the Big 12 preseason poll.
So bad. That's all you need to know. And I think that is what, as Walter actually tweeted out pretty brilliantly today, people do not like to be proven wrong. They want to be proven right. So rather than say that's our bad, we were wrong, it's like, no, that conference is just terrible then. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, if it's in the SEC, then, look at the balance. Look how balanced this is.
There is part of this, too, that as we go forward where the Big Ten and the SEC it's not really any different than now, but where they're able to, like, legally pay their players more from the schools and all that stuff, which is a reality. As long as the portal's open, you're going to see more of this, in my opinion, where these freshmen are going to go take the checks and they're going to develop for a couple years and then they're just going to leave, and let them develop your guys for you in some capacity.
Again, the programs that can have continuity, keep their best players, most importantly. Like, you still got to keep them, but then build actually on the back end with those, second and third teamers from those SEC and Big Ten schools. It can work. Iowa State's a great example. Is a perfect example of how it can work in this new era. And not to say that these other programs aren't going to notice. I think a lot of people will start looking at it like, hey, wait a second, maybe we go the Iowa State route. But Chris, you know this, and this is why I love our place in this whole world. Ego, power, money get in the way. People just like throwing money at a problem rather than think about the long-term big picture. But that's where we really have to be creative at Iowa State and say, no, let's attack this in a way, in that Moneyball way of finding the inefficiency, and that is the inefficiency. Is those guys that get paid, and then you can get them on the back end.
The other topic I wanted to hit you on was Andrew Luck and Stanford. Did you see that news?
No, what happened?
Andrew Luck, we haven't heard from him in about 4 years, hired as the general manager of Stanford football.
Oh, my gosh. He'll do well.
Well,
he'll do really well.
I mean, it seems really smart. Like, Stanford football hasn't really had anything to be
pumped up about in a long time.
A long time
That's
since anybody's.
They
are the
Captain
Andrew Luck is back on.
Good to have him back.
The battleground has called for my glorious return. I am thrilled to say I shall heed that call. I have re-enlisted. While my sidearm is permanently holstered, I shall help train the other young men to be great soldiers. Please send care packages of squirrel oil and skunk cakes to our base camp at Stanford. I love you.
New world, but I think Iowa State, I think we're going to be okay. We just get me through the next 3 weeks.
Why didn't you guys go get Andrew Luck?
If I would have known he was available.
I mean, Harbaugh did interview at Iowa State once.
Yeah, one time. But hey, happy for everybody listening to this. Like, you guys make this
absolutely
so much fun. I ran into so many people in Maui that it was just great. Like, just people were kind. They listened. I ran into a guy who was listening to us on the beach in Maui. He's like, "Whoa, you're right behind me. What are you doing here?" So it's you guys make it all worth it, and so happy for you to have Iowa State have the success. So let's win one more.
Absolutely. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Mechdyne, of course. They've been with us from day one of this podcast here on Cyclone Fanatic. We couldn't do it without them. Thanks to Aiden Wyatt for producing tonight. If you've been watching on YouTube, the show's always much, much better. It's not me just botching graphics one after another. Way better when Aiden's here. For Brent Blum, Aiden Wyatt, my name is Chris Williams. Again, we'll be back on Tuesday for a preview of the Marquette game, and then we'll do Arizona on Thursday. Woody and Mahoney will have Kicking It as well. I'm sure the Let 'em Cook guys are going to do something at some point during the week. Just a lot going on right now, but we wouldn't want it any other way. Thanks for listening. Please follow, like, subscribe, leave a review. Only if it's a positive one, of course. For Brent, Aiden, I'm Chris. Have a great week, everybody.